Shelby County. When I was trying to think about what I wanted to share with you tonight as far as my highlights for the year, one thing came to mind, and that is what I want to talk to you for just a minute about, and that is the heart and soul of Shelby County. We had a tragedy this year with the tornadoes that hit. Many people lost their homes and their businesses, their livelihoods that they have had their entire lives. A lady came down from the Red Cross. She came down from New York to volunteer. And her husband's a psychiatrist, and this lady has been all over the world to help with disasters and tragedies in every country all over the world. And she said, you know, I have never met a group of people like the ones here in Shelby County, ever, in all of my assistants all over the world. She said, these people here, you, have strength, and she said everybody just kind of, okay, we're going to just pick ourselves up by our bootstraps, so to speak, and get on with our lives. What happened in yesterday's trauma was yesterday. The caring and concern she has never experienced. And I think for me, that is my highlight of living in Shelby County, is that heart and soul that makes us special. When you talk about chambers and you talk about marketing what you have, and you talk about our industry, and you talk about our great courthouse, and all the things that we have to offer, this thing that I'm talking about is not a tangible thing. It's not something you can put your hand on and say, this is why you would enjoy coming to Shelby County. This is what we have to offer. But it is intrinsic, and it is here, and it is what makes you all so special. So being president of the chamber this year has just given me an opportunity to be a part of that heartbeat, and I have really enjoyed it. Right now, one of the things I get to do as outgoing president is also present the President's Award. One of the things that we accomplished this year, which was my goal for last year, was we got designated as a Main Street city. It's been a dream of mine for the past several years, and a lot of people worked really hard to see that we got that. Charlene Burke, as many of you know, is our Main Street manager, and is already doing a super job with this project. However, no matter how hard and how much a chamber wants a Main Street project, it is impossible to get without the support of the city and the city council. So this year's President's Award goes to the City of Center City Council. And accepting that award on behalf of the council is Mayor Pro Tem John Dean Wyndham. John Dean. Okay, it sure feels better to be the outgoing president rather than the incoming when I say that. And we do have a fine incoming president. I have worked with him closely over the last few years on the board of directors. Rick Campbell was in charge of our poetry festival this year, which was a record breaker in every way. So without further ado, I would like to present to you your new president, Mr. Rick Campbell. Rick.
Kathy, don't sit down yet. On behalf of the board of directors and the Chamber of Commerce, you've done a great job too this year. And your goal, you told us last year about, came true, and you worked hard for it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Now, what to do with my speech? Tammy, thank you for helping me practice speech. Last night I'd written it about 14 times, and I got down to it last night, and we finished here last night working on, she worked with me also helping decorate along with Mary, who wasn't mentioned, Mary and Bill helped with us set up the banquet. But I got home and I thought, well, I've written it out, and I read it about 3 or 4 times, said, what I want to say, but it doesn't sound right. Tammy looked at me and she said, you're having problems over there, aren't you? And I said, I sure am. and I started reading it. We got it together, and I just wanted to thank you. The Shelby County Chamber of Commerce, the past several years, has taken on many new and exciting adventures. Through the support of the community and all our endeavors, we have had tremendous leadership with all our committees. These Chamber's committees have been working on to make things happen. And every few months, we take on a little more. Some of the projects we have are small projects, but others are on larger scale. For instance, on a smaller scale, we took on a project which dealt with, it was our seniors' graduation list. And on that list, when the seniors graduated, that list was a booklet which is made up of all the kids' sizes and was distributed to the merchants all in Shelby County. And another larger got stumped. Another larger, well, let me start off. Another example of a project is where you're sitting tonight. The Chamber, as you know, didn't pay for the building. The fine folks of Shelby County and all the organizations in Shelby County paid for this building. But it was the Chamber that got together with the leadership and support and the ideas that built this building. And another major accomplishment was last year our past president introduced us to Main Street. And now Main Street is something our county can be proud of. An area that I believe we need to take a look at is our public relations. You know, public relations is sometimes like the practice of medicine. Sometimes you can improve a condition, but often your major success is to keep a bad condition from getting worse. And with that thought, I believe that through improved public relations with our surrounding communities in a combined effort, we can make anything happen in Shelby County. What Kathy was talking about, the fine folks we have here. And when this Chamber event happens, you can be assured that the people in Shelby County and its residents will be reaping the benefits. The Chamber should be important to all of us, all business people, and all of us Shelby County folks. And this year, I plan to keep the adventure happening. I know I'll be working hard to see that it's done. I will appreciate your support, and I thank you.
We have a few special awards now that we need to present. Most of the awards, as you may know, were presented over at the Senior Citizen Center just before in a reception. So we won't repeat those, but we do have some special awards we need to present at this time. And as chairman of our Agriculture Committee, Mr. Pete Cordray, I would like to ask him to come to the microphone and present the award for the Outstanding Farm Family of the Year.
Thank you. I was doing real good until he called my name. Let me say that I've enjoyed the past 3 years that I've been on director and the committee that's been on. And I know that we're going to have a good president this year. Not that we didn't have Kathy, but I know that I have worked with Rick on some committees, and I don't believe I would enjoy it any better than to have him on it, because when he sets out to do something, he does it. And he's kept me on my committees, and I know you'll have a good year, Rick. This year's Farm Family is certainly not a stranger to the farmers and the people of Shelby County. This recipient operates a large cow and calf operation off the Turner Road community, and they spend lots of hours preparing the land to grow watermelons on. They market watermelons in Beaumont, Port Arthur, Houston, state of Louisiana, Oklahoma, Arkansas, and as far away as New York and Pennsylvania. They have watermelons locally and also in the valley. They also supply a lot of small brokers. They have worked with the local conservation office and the ASCS office to make improvements on their property. This year's farm family is a member of the Providence Missionary Baptist Church. They have been married 21 years. They have 2 boys, Wesley 20 and Brian 14, which have both been involved in 4-H and FFA programs. And for those of you who have not guessed who our Farm Family of the Year are, I'd like to present to you the 1988 Farm Family of the Year, Richard and Diane Livingston.
Privilege as last year's recipient of the Young Citizen of the Year Award to present the award this year. And I would like to read a few this time about this year's recipient from some of his friends and relatives. Some of them are a little humorous, and even one of them as late as 30 minutes ago came up to me and said, "Don't say that." But I'm going to say it anyway. This man is a strong-willed, straightforward, and he's going to get the job done one way or another. That's what one person said. Another said, just as good an Indian as he is a chief. If he's on your team, he will eat out and do more than his share. Another said he places a high priority on community service. He has gained a lot of respect for his unselfish devotion. This year's recipient is a local boy. He graduated from Center High School in 1977. He graduated from the University of Texas at Tyler in 1982 with a Bachelor of Arts degree in Business Administration. He was very active in his fraternity while he was there, serving both as treasurer and president. And in 1984, he was voted the Alumni of the Year for that fraternity. His hobbies are golf and duck hunting. He's a member of the First Baptist Church. He has served as director and president of the Center Rotary Club. And as a Rotarian, he was instrumental in raising close to $25,000 for this facility that we enjoy tonight. In 1986 and 87 year, he was voted Rotarian of the Year. He's been very active in Ducks Unlimited for the last 7 years. He has served as president and treasurer of that organization. He was appointed district representative of the Ducks Unlimited. And by the way, he was the youngest ever to serve that position. He is instrumental in bringing the Ducks Unlimited North Toledo Bend Wildlife Management Project to Shelby County. He was presented the Conservation Service Award, which is one of the highest awards given by Ducks Unlimited. He's had numerous positions in the Chamber of Commerce. He was last year's Poultry Festival chairman. He's co-chaired the Shelby College Super Sale, which raised more than $7,000 for this facility. He has been a director and an officer of the Chamber for the past 5 years. His wife, Tammy, and daughter, Brooke, share him with a lot of folks, as you'll agree. By now, most of you know our Young Citizen of the Year Award goes to Mr. Rick Campbell, our next president.
Well, I ought to do like Luke Motley did, I heard one time. He just got up here in his acceptance speech and said, "Thank you." But I'm a lot more relaxed now than I was a while ago. I first of all have to say that give a lot of credit where credit is deserved, and that's with my wife Tammy. And I have to thank her because there's been many an hour that I probably should have been at the house, or I was doing something for the chamber, something for the ducks, or something for I shouldn't have been, maybe not, but as y'all know, I like to play a little bit, play a little golf, play a little basketball, and when maybe I should have been at home. I have to give credit to my family, my mom and dad, who I love very dearly, and they've helped me. They raised me, and I have to give a lot of credit to them. And my sisters that try to keep me straight. I just want to say thank you.
One more special award. Last year's recipient of the Distinguished Service Award was Mr. James Campbell, Rick's father, so it kind of runs in the family. I would now like to recognize James and ask him to present that award.
Well, I guess it's my time to choke up. It is with extreme pleasure and pride that I bring you the Shelby County Chamber's Distinguished Service Award winner for 1988. I've known this man for a bunch of years and have considered him my friend, and as I think most of you in this room consider him yours. This honoree is a newcomer to Center, having lived here only 30 years. Of course, his kids are natives. Our honoree came to Shelby County about 30 years ago and quietly became involved in church, civic, and club affairs of our city and county. He is one of those people who gets a lot done without a lot of fanfare. Look over the past 30 years and you will find this man has been involved in almost all the good things that have happened in Shelby County. Now, at this time, they decided that there might be a fellow that is also a friend of our nominees that might have just a little more prestige than I have. And I would like to bring you by the media of, what are these? Boombox, they say, if I don't tear up something. Our U.S. Senator, Lloyd Benson, who, although he couldn't be here tonight, was going to make this presentation. Make sure I've got this thing aimed right. Did play? This is Lloyd Benson. Really wish I could be joining you in Center for your 66th annual Center Chamber of Commerce banquet. But duties in Washington just have to take a priority. Therefore, we still have to depend on our electronic media. It's my pleasure tonight to honor and announce the winner of the Chamber of Commerce Distinguished Service Award. Tonight's honoree is a veteran of World War II who served in the Army Air Corps. He was employed for more years than he cares to admit with the United Gas Corporation, which of course is now Intex, as the area and regional manager before retiring in 1975. He's past president of several organizations, including the Deep East Texas Council of Government, the Texas Association of Regional Councils, the Center Country Club, Chamber of Commerce and Rotary Club. He's on the administrative board of the First Methodist Church. He served on the Center City Council for 13 years and was mayor pro tem during most of that time. His hobbies, well, they're fishing and golf. And according to his golf partners, though, he'd do better as a committee member or officer of a civic organization than he does with rod and reel or a golf club. Now, Bill, it sounds to me like, from hearing that from that crowd, that you must have birdied the last hole. Ladies and gentlemen, it's my pleasure to announce the winner of the Distinguished Service Award Mr. W.R. Bill Bowlin.
You know, Bill, I don't believe these people out here think he did a better job than I could have done. And besides that, I'm not through. You know, probably the most important contribution Bill has made has been to his church, where he's not only a member but a lay leader, district steward, member of the United Methodist Men, and the administrative board of the First Methodist Church of Center. His hobbies, besides volunteering, include golf and gardening. Bill, no man can give as much to his community as you have without a wife who is both helpful and understanding. You know it's the wife who has to see that the kids and the husband get to where they're supposed to be. Then has to give up the things she would like to do while her husband is off out helping others. That sound familiar, Mama? Bill Bowlin, the smartest thing you ever did was marrying Lula. And this award should go to the both of you. And I would like for Lula and the daughters, Barbara Smith, Kathy Thomas, Karen, Susan, and Jane, I think you should stand because all of you deserve this award because you've given up Bill for lots of hours.
James said something about someone being nervous. He don't know I got a heart condition. I think I can make it through this, but this is something that's totally unexpected and a great surprise to me. And I do appreciate each and every one of you that helped me to receive this award because it's something that I shall cherish dearly. And I thank you very much for it.
That concludes our awards presentation for the evening, and now I would like to introduce to you the Honorable Bill Haley, State Representative and soon-to-be State Senator, who will now introduce our special guest for the evening.
Thank you. Rick, that was awful. But I told him at the very beginning it was going to be. He knew it was going to be. But let me tell you something about Rick Campbell. We're in for a treat. I mean a treat. This kid is as innovative and energetic as anybody you can imagine to be coming in the chamber at this time. Don't let his speech-making fool you. I mean, don't. And if you have any aspirations to doing anything in the Chamber of Commerce, you better get ready because this kid's fixing to carry you places. I can say that. I was just visiting with Mr. Bullock here and Mary and just looking around here that, you know, all my former students are running this chamber. That's really something for someone turning, 33, 30, somewhere around there. The kid's old enough to be that you've taught to be able to be doing that. I'm going to do one thing also before I get into an introduction to a good friend of mine here, and it's something that I would have wanted and cherished myself, having been out there many, many times since 1972. I'm going to introduce three people whom I know to be here. One is a very good friend of mine who is trying to cover 28 counties in a runoff for the State Board of Education and has taken her time out, she's from Lufkin, to come here to our Chamber of Commerce banquet. She's in the runoff Tuesday. She is Miss Mary Perkins. Miss Perkins, we're glad to have you with us. And I know that the two Democrats who are seeking to be the nominees to take my seat in the House of Representatives are here. I saw them earlier. One is Mr. Jerry Johnson from Nacogdoches, is here. And Mr. Mike Ward from Nacogdoches is here. We appreciate you all coming out. I always wanted to be appreciated for coming out too. And Senator Blake, who is probably envied by all of us because he isn't running for a thing. After serving us so very well for so many years in the House and in the Senate as well, and we are certainly glad to have you over in Center, you and Tootie both. Truly are. I am, as the resident politico, I suppose, of Center and Shelby County, very delighted that the last two chamber banquets, we have had two of the most, in the last banquet we had, in this banquet we have, two of the most distinguished statewide elected officials in Texas, not only currently, but for many, many, many years of the past. Last year, as you know, we had the delightful Ann Richards, who took the state treasury from people who had generally won that office by virtue of a namesake and turned it into one of the most productive state agencies that anyone could ever have imagined the state treasury could have been, has actually produced money for the state treasury through that agency. And she spoke with us last. Tonight, we have another fellow, or we have a fellow with us tonight, I should say, who has distinguished himself every bit as well in the office of Comptroller. Comptroller. Generally, the Comptroller had simply sat back and collected the taxes for years and years and years, not only in an indistinguished manner, but also in a not too controversial manner, you know. And tonight we have someone with us who has done that without worry of controversy and with more concern for the duties and constitutional responsibilities of the office than with controversy. It goes without saying that the most significant, the only aspect and projects of a Chamber of Commerce is economic development. That's the purpose, the function of Chamber of Commerce in any community is economic development. It is essential for a community to support and maintain a strong Chamber of Commerce in this day and age in order to enjoy that economic development. It is essential, therefore, equally so, I think, for a community to have the respect of statewide elected officials so that that community may enjoy the recognition necessary to attract the support of state government for its local projects. For us at this time, I think that there is no better person now to have with us than the person who is currently the Comptroller of Public Accounts of the state of Texas. He has taken an office, has been one of the most innovative managers ever to sit in the office of Comptroller. No question about it. If your business or your interest is taxes, I am here to assure you the definitive answer comes quickly from the office of the Comptroller in the state of Texas. And in the times in which we have just served, Senator Blake and I have just served in probably what will go down in history as, at this point, without a doubt, the most severely difficult times that the state has ever financed or faced economically. I do not know how we would have survived without the expertise, the energy, the dedication of Bob Bullock. And I can assure you that business people throughout this state and government people throughout this state would agree with that statement wholeheartedly. I will tell you, Bob Bullock a while back had bypass surgery. As he was going into the room to have the surgery done in the surgical room there, he kind of came out from under the anesthetics and says, "Now what happens if you get in there?" The doctor says, "We may get in there and find out that you're going to have a new heart." kind of came to a little bit and says, well, if I do, I won't build Clement's heart. And the doctor looked at him and says, what? Bill Clements? He says, that's right, I want one that's never been used. Seriously. Seriously. It is a source of pride for me to get to introduce to you the speaker tonight, for whom I am so very happy that we are honored to have with us, Comptroller Bob Bullock.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, Billy. I never quite had an introduction just exactly like that. And I know Governor Clements has never had an operation like that either. Madam President, Miller, Larry, Rosalie, Mr. Incoming President, you got the best looking speech writer I ever laid eyes on. And Mary, you do a great job. That's evident from looking around here tonight. And I want to tell you something, Mr. Campbell. I'll never understand East Texas politics either. Here you got a hometown boy, Roy, that just got elected state senate for all practical purposes. He won the Democratic primary. He didn't have an opponent in November. He doesn't have, so he really is your senator now. Talked against taxes the whole time, Mary, and what did he do when he got elected? The first thing off, went to Austin, got the tax collector and brought him over here to talk to you. Now, you figure that out. Kind of reminds me of that little story that was going around Austin somewhat, Robert, when I first got elected. The senator here will remember it. They was talking about the 3 biggest lies they ever told. They said, biggest lie, first biggest lie I ever told was, I'll call you tomorrow. How many times, Rosalie? You hear that a lot, I'm sure. We all do. Checks in the mail, sir. I'm sure you've heard that one. That's the second biggest lie I ever told. Roy, the third biggest lie I ever told was, I'm from Bob Bullock's tax office, and I'm here to help you. Well, that's kind of like what Billy's done to y'all tonight. If y'all gonna get that kind of help from him, you better look out. You know, when he did first ask me to come over here to talk, I naturally conjured up some ideas of what I'd talk about tonight. And you know, Billy, considering what Texas has been through the last few years, we've had some rough times. It would have been real easy for me to stand up here tonight, Vince, and talk about what's wrong with Texas. And all too often, as I go around the state, some of my friends do just that. What is wrong with it? Got some people believing there's nothing right with Texas. Well, I didn't come all the way over here from Austin, Texas to talk to you about what's wrong with Texas, Larry. I came over here tonight to talk to you about what's right with Texas, about what's good about East Texas, and what's right about Shelby County, and what's right about you and I, Texans, because there's a lot of things right about Texas today. There's a lot of things for us to be thankful for. And Roy, there's sure a lot for us to be proud of. I can assure you that. You know, I think one of the best things that we've got going for us right now is it really happened last summer, is the economy of Texas is now beginning to turn around. In our opinion, you got a full-scale recovery going on in this state today. You're going to have a better day tomorrow than you got today, and next year will be a better year than what you have this year. In addition to collecting the state's taxes, one of my jobs is to look at the state's economy, really on a day-to-day basis, Rosalie, and try to get some idea about how state ranks financially. Where are we? We project, we forecast what the economy of Texas will be today and tomorrow, next year, and the year after. And you know, in doing that, I'm kind of reminded of that famous quotation of President Kennedy when a young reporter asked him one time, said, Mr. President, said, talking about him being a hero during World War II, said, Mr. President, said, did you know, did you predict that you were going to be a hero? He said, no, son, I sure didn't. Matter of fact, I didn't. Said it was all completely involuntary to me. They just shot the boat out from under me. Well, that's the way it is here tonight, Wallace. I just hope you don't shoot the boat out from under me. Because, as I say, we do think Texas is on the road to recovery. We believe that the economy this year, for the balance of this year, for the first time in 4 solid years, will be better than it was last year. That will surpass the gross state product from what it was last year, and it will next year. Perhaps, just maybe, that Texas will grow twice as fast, the economy, as it does throughout these United States. Now, here in the early stages of the recovery, we've already seen employment drop 2%. I want you to think back a couple of years ago, Mr. Campbell, unemployment at that time was about 10% over. Today it's down to 8%. 2 years ago, each and every month, there were 100,000 new claims for unemployment insurance in Texas. And today, sir, that figure dropped down to 59,000. You say that's a lot? It is, but it's a 42% decrease over what it was 2 years ago. Of course, I don't think any of us can overlook the fact that today in Texas we've got 700,000 unemployed Texans. Your friends and my friends, many of them, unemployed. But I tell you what you can do, and I can do. You can look back since June of last year, and you'll see that Texas has created 86,000 new jobs in this state. And that's something we can be proud of. And it's an indication that Texas is beginning to turn around. As far as retail sales are concerned, we're having a good year this year, and we didn't have a bad last fall. If you can even dream of this amount of money, right now our retail sales a month run about $8,700,000,000 a month. That's higher than it was on the average last year. But Christmas, this past Christmas, December, we had the highest total sales bill in the history of the state of Texas. We're running $9 billion a month. That's the second highest retail sales in the country. That exceeds New York and somewhat behind California. We do all kinds of surveys in the office, Roy. For example, we do it on businessmen's attitude about Texas. And a recent survey shows, I think it's a good indication of where Texas is today. We asked them, said, how do you feel about your future in Texas? Your business in this state, and how you'll do in the future. 90% of them reported back that they had a more optimistic attitude. They were more confident in the economy of Texas now than they had been 2 years ago. And to me, attitude and that kind of confidence means a whole lot toward recovery, even if some of our maybe professional economists, Mary, don't believe that. I do. Of course, I'm recognized, and I know that you do, that we've still got some soft spots in the economy. The finance industry, one. The banks and the savings and loans. Real estate. Construction business to some extent. We're still bruised there. Hopefully it'll improve. But on the whole, Texas is on that road to recovery, and that recovery is solid and it's widespread. You might ask, well, where is this recovery coming from? And that'd be a good question, Larry, because it's coming from manufacturing, believe it or not. Manufacturing as a whole, it's a battered industry. The last several years it's taken it on the chin, but they're doing real good today. And in turn, you people in East Texas ought to do real well. For the simple reason that 21% of all your jobs in East Texas are in manufacturing, and statewide it's only 15%. And to tell you the truth, you ought to do excellent for the balance of this year and next year and the year after because of it. When you look at East Texas, of course, the first thing that probably comes to a lot of people's mind, and mine, is the timber industry. It's not only important to Shelby County, but it's important not only East Texas too, but the state of Texas. It's our second largest agricultural product, and it services our 8th largest manufacturing industry. About 60,000 Texans work in the timber industry in one way or the other. And a good one-third of those are located right here in East Texas. Because of the trade agreement with Canada and an increase in national housing starts, last year the timber industry had its best year in a decade, in 10 years. And because of worldwide supply and because of an increase also that we expect for the balance of this year and next in national housing starts, not necessarily in Texas, but throughout the nation and throughout the world, we look for increased profits and jobs in the timber industry and the timber products. It ought to be welcome news to you folks in this room. The East Texas chemical industry, especially around Longview, is doing great. And by the way, we've got industry in Texas that for the first time in 5 years is running 100% capacity. An example of it is the chemical industry, petrochemical industry, up down the Texas border. They're running full capacity. In fact, they're now making plans to how to handle the excess product that they're going to need in the months ahead. We think the chemical industry around this part of the country will follow suit. It's a real bright star on Texas horizon this time. In addition to that, you've got the manufacturers of boats, trailers around the Lufkin area. That's a true sign, by the way, of diversity, which is the future of Texas, no question about it. Doing good. And also as far as food processing. You know, until I got to looking at it, I had no idea just exactly how important the poultry industry was to Shelby County. I found out, number one, that that's where the majority of people work in this county. And I found out between 1980 and about mid-1987, that industry increased about 60% over in Shelby County. And maybe even some of y'all don't know it, but you folks produce 20% of all the broilers and fryers in the state of Texas. I believe there's somewhere in the neighborhood of 216 million chickens produced. You got 20% of them come right out of this county. You take it on the chin here during the last part of last year. You had some layoffs out here at the farm. But by and whole, we expect that this year for the price of chickens to go up, price of poultry to go up, including eggs, by the way. And they had those layoffs because there was an excess amount of those products out on the market. We expect that to be worked off somewhat. We expect to see an increase in jobs in the balance of this year and the early part of next year in the poultry industry, which I think is darn good news for Shelby County, East Texas, and Texas as a whole. By the way, I'm told for the first time last year the consumption of chicken in the United States exceeded the consumption of beef. And those of you that are here in that industry tonight, I want to thank you because so much of those products, the poultry products, are shipped out of Texas. And that means, Billy, out-of-state dollars coming back into Texas. And it's usually the other way around. It's usually Texas dollars being spent outside of Texas. Now, while your manufacturing is bright in this part of the country, I might say that your economy has diversified. Like I said, the plants in Lufkin that are now producing boat trailers and boats. But also it's your service industry that are really coming on strong. Personal services of all type, Miller, like yours. Professional services. Personal service. Business services of all types. Services in health field for the East Texas area. That's where the jobs are today and tomorrow. We looked at for the 75% of all the jobs created in Texas, and frankly in East Texas, in the next 10 years will be in the service industry. Not oil and gas, ladies and gentlemen, but in the service industry. Again, services of all types. And that follows the pattern throughout these United States because the same thing is happening in this country today. Now I want to bring up something, an industry that I really think is important to you, and that's tourism. If there was ever a place on the face of this earth that held an attraction to people of all areas, where the Texans are outside, it's East Texas. And you people ought to really benefit from tourist development in Texas. Well, you know, it's just about the best and the cleanest industry you can have. And if you think about it, Billy, when your tourists come into this area, they mainly leave their dollars. They don't put their kids in your school system, and normally it's not their kinfolks they leave in the jails, both of which, you know, the schools and jails cost us a little money. They leave money here. It's about the best industry you can have. And goodness gracious, with Toledo Bend here and a national forest and access to others, Tourist development ought to be right up your track, and believe me, you're talking about big dollars for Shelby County and for East Texas if you really get into it. And hopefully Texas will take a bigger part in being a partner of yours in development of that industry for us. You know, when I talk about Texas, Mr. Campbell, I'm really talking about 6. Because, Rick, there's 6 economic regions in Texas, not just one. We're that big, we're that diverse. Here I am in East Texas tonight, but you got the Gulf Coast. You got the border area. You got the Plains area and Panhandle. You got the Metroplex, Dallas and Fort Worth, and you got the Central Corridor, an area that stretches from Dallas down to San Antonio. 6 different areas of Texas, each with different problems and each with different assets that some other region doesn't have. And when you talk about improvements in Texas and the economy and this year and next year, you really have to look at each region on its own. There'll be some regions that improve faster than others. For example, the border region. It took it first. It took going into the recession first because of the devaluation of the peso. And then because of oil and gas. It'll come out probably later than some of the other areas. On the other hand, as far as East Texas is concerned, we think that your economy is going to pretty well track the economy of Texas as a whole. But there's going to be one thing that becomes more and more clear to us as the months and frankly years go by, and that is the fact that, Larry, all of my life and probably all of the lives of most of you in this room, oil and gas has been the principal industry for Texas. We have been known as the oil and gas state. Well, that's changing somewhat. It used to be, Robert, that oil and gas was 25% of all the business in Texas. And we got 27% of all of our tax dollars, Betty, from oil and gas. Today, that's all changed. In just a few short years, now not but 15% of the business in Texas is from oil and gas. And we only get, believe it or not, 8% of our tax money on the state basis anymore from oil and gas. Oil and gas used to be our second largest source of income for Texas, and today it's dropped to 6th and 7th. We'll get more money from gasoline tax than we'll get from oil and gas combined, if you can believe it. We have a changing face in Texas. We have a changing economic profile, but there's some things, Roy Blake, that haven't changed. Population. Even during the darkest period of Texas, the last 3 years, when Texas was down, there's one thing that didn't go down, and that's population. It went up all that time, Miller. We gained 750,000 new people in the last 3 years. Most of them are not people that moved here, by the way. They're homegrown kids. They're children that were born in this state. South Texas, the Rio Grande Valley, is the fastest growing area in these United States of America. And it probably will not change. Of course, that's going to mean a lot of good things to some of you. It's going to mean a new client probably for you, Miller, and for those of you in the retail business, it's probably going to mean some new customers, by the way. But Mary, you're running for the State Board of Education. You know what else it means? It means new classrooms, and it needs new transportation facilities for children. It needs 2 new textbooks. And unfortunately, it probably means new prison cells as our population increases. How we handle these problems in the years ahead, that'll be something to really watch. But frankly, we do have some serious problems. But very frankly also, we have the potential to solve them. I've always thought that Texas had the kind of people that were tough enough to make the tough decisions when those times come. And certainly Billy Haley is one of them that can stand up and make those decisions for you and for me. Because they don't give me a vote over there, but they do him. That's Texas for you as we see it next year and somewhat a little of the year after. Billy, I'm proud you invited me here tonight, especially proud of that. But also, Mary, I'm proud I'm a Texan. I really am. I'm proud of that. I always thought there was a little something special about being Texan. a little special respect, just a little special confidence that maybe some other person from another state didn't have. Respect not only for oneself, but respect for our fellow Texans. A proudness about his state. Well, I still have that. I still have that respect for my fellow Texans, and I'm still proud of it. And you should be proud of this chamber tonight, too. You know, here you are. Your county seat's closer to Baton Rouge, really, than Austin, Texas is. But I'll tell you what, you're just as much center of Texas government as Austin is, for that matter. And this chamber tonight is not a better forum for you to have your say in your community and in your state than through the chamber. Mary, you've done an excellent job with it. Madam President, your time's coming, Rick, this year. None better. I commend you for it. I commend you for joining, for coming here tonight, for paying your dues, not with your check, but for the hard work that you've done for this community this past year. And that's evident from the recipients that have received awards tonight, and I congratulate you. Texas has gone through, as I said, a lot the last few years. I guess you say we've been through the fire. But you know, as they say, the hotter the fire, the harder the steel. And if that's the case, then we ought to be ready to really, and his cohorts, those of us in government, you in this chamber, ought to be ready to forge a little bit better greatness for Texas than we've had in the past. I look forward someday to coming back. Billy said I could only talk 20 minutes, and my 20 minutes is up. He said someday I could come back, and when I do come back, I'd like to come back and say, yes, thank you. We did it. A better and a greater foundation for Texas in the future. Thank you so much. Nice to be with you.